right, cool. Hello, welcome everyone to the Burn KC ScorchCast. I am your host, as always, Alex Blackburn. You may notice a little bit of a camera change. I got a new laptop for my birthday, so just this is the first ScorchCast recorded on said laptop, and boy, howdy, it's a lot clearer um, than the last one was for sure. So many thanks to my grandpa Gene for the new laptop. It works great so far, and I really enjoy it. I can't wait to see what other use I can get out of it. So much appreciated. Got a pretty loaded show today. Had a lot going on these past couple weeks in regards to sports. Boy, howdy, we had a lot going on past couple weeks in regards to sports. Gonna talk the Blues in Movember. Couple charitable events that I wanted to get to. The Blues had their Don Bosco toy drive event this past. I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. Sorry, the days are just blending together. But it was Friday, and I went to Brady and Fox with a few of the Blues guys as well. It was a great time. We had a lot of fun, a lot of good drinks, good food, good memories made. And congrats to Sean Vickery for winning that $1,000 raffle grand prize. You deserve it, buddy. Hopefully you got the bar tab that night. Um, but anyway, continuing on. Raised quite a bit of money for the Blues. Raised a lot of toys for Don Bosco, and that's only going to continue into December. Sometime in mid-December, we're going to wrap those toys and give them out to the kids that are involved with Don Bosco and the lower income kids that maybe can't afford as good of a Christmas this year. It's going to be a real treat. I'm very much looking forward to it. One of my favorite parts about the Blues is participating in those fundraising initiatives. So great job on the Blues guys. Had a great turnout. Solid event. Thank you to Matt Hoover for helping organize and lead that event. It was awesome. So good on the Blues. And then as for the other charitable initiative in my life right now, Movember is still going strong. Up to $120 now. I don't think we're gonna hit that $500 goal, but we're gonna make one last push for some more donations. Every cent counts. If you can donate your time, money, energy, or just maybe a share or on social media. I very much appreciate that. $120 is already a lot of money, though, and I very much appreciate every single one of you that's donated. I'm gonna put some more. I'm gonna put some in toward the pot myself, and we're gonna have a decent sized donation for this community. So it's a great start for that first year. I'm hoping to make this an annual thing and continue on and just kind of, yeah, like I said, make it an annual thing. So it'll be a lot of fun, I hope. But that's it for charitable initiatives. As the description suggests, we got a lot to talk about today. We got KU basketball on the docket. KU football, K-State football and basketball, Mizzou football and basketball. The Chiefs, obviously, they played today. Obviously, won against the Rams. If you didn't watch, I'm sorry for spoiling that for you. But yeah, they won 26-10. And then we'll talk about some USA soccer as well, and just hit some viewer comments, polls, and of course, fantasy football. So again, like I said, loaded show. So let's just get started. Let's go to KU football first. Or excuse me, KU basketball first. KU basketball is looking kind of rough at the moment. Obviously, it's early in the season. You're going to have those early season jitters. There's always that really bad early season loss from the Bill self-coached teams. That kind of is just kind of a kick in the pants to his squad to just say, hey, like, we got to get it going now. And honestly, I think the kick in the pants came at a great time. You had that huge win against Duke. You had a couple of decent wins in the Bad Boy Mower Invitational, which I still think is a very interesting name. Sponsors are great. They really do great things. But what really struck a chord, I think, with a lot of KU basketball fans was that last match against Tennessee, and it was not good. Obviously, size will be a huge factor going forward, but when you have a 6'5" center, there's a big problem, and you're supposed to be a blue blood. That's a big problem. Tennessee sized up the Jayhawks really well. They really took it to them in the paint, and even at the perimeter. I mean, the perimeter defense for Bill self-coached teams is incredibly hit or miss, I feel like. And what we have with this KU basketball team is lack of perimeter defense as well as a lack of rebounding and in the paint scoring. I mean, the front court's basically non-existent. And in teams coached by Bill Self in years past, they figured it out. They gotta get Uday and Ejiofor some minutes. Otherwise, they're not going to figure it out, in my opinion. They need that size down low, and it's not going to come with KJ Adams or Zach Clements, unfortunately. They're great players. KJ Adams is coming into his own, and I think he does deserve minutes. But he's pretty much the only veteran big man, because unfortunately Cam Martin's injured, that Bill Self has right now. And yeah, Zach Clements is fine when he's fine, but he's also really bad when he's really bad. And these past couple games have proven that he might not need to see the floor all that much this year. And he might transfer. In all honesty, I can see him transferring. I think he gets more minutes elsewhere. I think he's better elsewhere. I just don't see a fit for Zach Clements in this KU lineup. He's shot terribly. He's not that big of a guy, and it's rough watching him struggle. And I think he goes on to greener pastures after this year, and rightfully so, because I don't think he'll find it here. Which is why I'm saying Uday and Ejiofor need to develop quick. And in my experience with Bill Self-coached teams, young big men do not get nearly enough minutes. And that's a problem this year. In years past, we had that big man that you could depend on. Last year it was David McCormick, who, wasn't consistent, but when he was on, he was on. And sometimes you have that with KJ, and other times KJ's ups and downs are much, much worse than David McCormick's, in my opinion. I think he's got games where he does perform well in the paint, where he is getting those rebounds, getting those blocks, getting those in the paint points. But there are other games where he's completely silent, and that's not good for a starting big man. I mean, if we are going to start, if KU is going to start him, It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to keep throwing him out there and getting him these, in my opinion, far too many minutes. You're tiring him out. And having two guys that have gone, that when they have played, have proven that they can be good players, but they're just not getting the minutes. And I think that's a major issue with a lot of Bill Self's teams is the young guys don't get the minutes unless they've proven that they're McDonald's All-American or something like that, like Grady Dick has. And nothing for nothing, but the last couple games, Grady Dick's been silent too. And I think that needs to change. You've got a solid slate of opponents coming up. And one of those opponents just so happens to be the old rival in Mizzou. And they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder, and they're not bad this year. They're a good basketball team this year, honestly. I think they make noise in the SEC this year. And they may not compete with like the likes of Kentucky per se, so that's at least a little bit of optimism. But yeah, in Tennessee, but I mean, I don't see anyone else in the SEC beating Mizzou other than Tennessee and Kentucky. There's solid basketball programs in the SEC too. So Mizzou's going to be a problem if these issues are not ironed out. And with that game being in Columbia, I was not nervous until this past game against Tennessee. And now I am nervous for that game. I think if you blow them out this past year and they come right back around and punch you in the face come December 10th, it's going to look real bad, and it's going to be an absolute confidence killer for this Jayhawk basketball team. I mean, it just is. And I would like to think that, it's early in the season, like we haven't even gotten to conference play. These out-of-conference games, these early season games matter. And they matter a lot because they help you find what kind of team you're going to be. And over these next couple games, we're going to see what type of Kansas basketball team we're going to see this year. And if nothing changes and Bill Self stays the course for what he's got right now, I don't see KU winning the Big 12 this year. I don't see them going for a repeat. Yeah, they beat Duke. And yeah, North Carolina's struggling, and all these other ranked teams are struggling. Gonzaga, Duke, all these other ranked teams are struggling. So like, KU's not doesn't deserve to be singled out. They kind of do, because good teams do not struggle with the likes of this year's Wisconsin team, which can barely put up 50 points, but ended up putting 68 up against the KU defense. And, they're a good defensive team. But if you saw those stat lines from before the KU game, you would think it's an 8th grade women's team scoring those baskets. Or it just looked like a team that couldn't shoot the basketball, and KU made them. There came a point in that second half where KU made them look like the Golden State Warriors. I mean, it's got to be rectified, and it has to be rectified now. Otherwise, you're going to get embarrassed by Mizzou, who, out of all teams, that should be the team that you should beat in the non-conference schedule. I wouldn't have cared if we lost if KU lost against Duke, but ended up beating Mizzou by like 40. That would be, I would say, par for the course. But what it looks like right now is, yeah, KU beat Duke, but they're going to have a contest on their hands come December 10th in Columbia. Um, and it could be a good game, which a lot of people did not expect. So, um, should the Jayhawks hit the panic button? Not yet. I think if you lose against Mizzou, that's DEFCON 3 for sure. But at this point, Tennessee's a great team. They're number 6 in KenPom, I think. So they're a great team, and I'm not surprised that they handled that KU team pretty easily. They're a lot better than their ranking would suggest, and overall, I don't think the Jayhawks should panic just yet, but we'll see how these next couple games go. I mean, it really these next couple games are going to be very determinant on what the projection of this KU basketball team is this year. And again, like I said, these early season matchups matter for that exact reason. Is they define who you're going to be come the conference games in January and February and come March. Um, and if KU wants any shot at repeating, they have to fix these glaring issues with their lineup and with their play. And I think a lot of that falls on Bill Self, but a lot of that falls on the players as well. There's a lot of guys that are having good performances, but are just inconsistent, i.e., Grady Dick. But there's also those guys that think they can put the entire team on their back, such as Jalen Wilson and DeJuan Harris, who just can't. I mean, they cannot be the end-all be-all answer for this KU basketball team. There has to be diverse scoring. There has to be passing activity. It's not just give the ball to Jalen Wilson and pray. It's give the ball to Ernest Uday and he scores down low, or KJ Adams or Kevin McCullough, and get those front court points as well as those perimeter points from, say, Grady Dick or even Joseph Yesufu or Bobby Pettiford, who are coming off the bench. A huge issue for KU is bench. The bench is just non-existent practically this year. And that is the biggest change I think KU needs to make, is they need to start getting some points off the bench. And really, Bobby Pettiford had that great shot against Wisconsin that won them the game. But those were his only 2 points. And those were the only 2 points off the bench for that KU team that game. That's inexcusable. If I'm Bill Self, I'm hammering bench scoring. I'm hammering diversifying your scoring efforts. And yeah, maybe the guy that, maybe a guy like Zach Clements doesn't make an impact. But when Joseph Yesufu's on or when Bobby Pettiford's on, they're on. And they need to maximize that. They need to maximize their scoring. They need to maximize that backcourt play and that perimeter shooting, as well as the down low and the getting the ball inside to where guys like KJ Adams or Ernest Uday or Zubia Ejiofor can work. So it's not looking great right now for KU, but it can turn around. And I think there are a lot of people that are hitting the panic button way too early for that team. And it's just not quite time yet. But again, we'll have to see what these next couple of games bring, and kind of go from there. So going on to KU football, though. KU football, If you follow my Twitter, I'm sorry for kind of the negative things that I said about KU football last night. A lot of it was just out of frustration because KU was clearly the better team, barring those errors. And a lot of you are probably looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm being serious. KU was the better team. They had more fight. They had better offensive efficiency. They had the chances to score and the chances to lead the game, even. But it was those mistakes that happened on special teams, the mistakes that happened in regards to penalties and busted coverage that just gifted K-State multiple points. And good teams don't do that. And I think that's been a trend for this KU football program for the past couple of games, and it needs to stop if you expect to be a team that competes for a Big 12 championship next year. Which I think, yeah, they ended the season on a sour note, but they're 6-6 first and foremost, and they're going bowling. If you can get a bowl win and get that momentum going into the offseason, I think that's extremely important in regard to what your projection looks like for next season. And with 10 out of 11 starters on offense returning, as well as 8 out of 11 on defense returning, there should be no problem carrying momentum into next season. KU's going to look real dangerous, especially if they can capitalize on the transfer portal and recruiting this coming year. They have a chance to be a top 15 team and a chance to compete for a Big 12 championship easily. Leipold was extended. He has a great vision for this program. He's just got to make sure they're limiting the mental errors and the special teams mistakes. KU's ranked 128th out of 131 on special teams efficiency. That's inexcusable for a bowl-eligible team. And it tells you that special teams just wins games and changes momentum in said games. And what happened last night was a perfect example of that. You had a KU team that looked poised to stay with K-State that entire game and to battle that entire game. And they looked good, they looked fluid until they hit a roadblock with those mistakes. And it's just mental errors, really. O.J. Burroughs dropping that punt. The busted coverage that ensued a drive after. It's just not the 80-yard run that Deuce Vaughn broke off. It's these simple errors that are killing your momentum and killing your ability to win. And they need to be fixed by next year if KU wants to improve. And I'm optimistic for the future. And I think what Lance Leipold has done for the KU football program was leaps and bounds better than what we expected for this year. But maybe that's changing my tone in regards to, because I know this team could have easily have been at least 8-4. Easily could have been 8-4. They could have been 9-3 even. They were a couple of missed opportunities away from beating Oklahoma, from beating TCU, from beating Baylor, and from beating K-State. I mean, that's 4 wins off the table right there. And yeah, they looked abysmal versus Texas. But I think if you come out sleepwalking, that's the result that you're going to get. And that's exactly what happened when Texas came to town on my birthday. I mean, I still have a bad taste in my mouth after that game. Get a bowl win and carry that momentum into next season. You already got the number one transfer in the nation right now committed to your program in Logan Brown. That's a huge transfer. Wisconsin lineman, that's going to bolster that offensive line to where the run game can work with even more efficiency than it already does. I mean, Devin Neal could easily be one of the best running backs in the nation next year. He already is top upper echelon of running backs this year. I mean, he's got better numbers than Deuce Vaughn even, who, maybe after last night that may have changed, but it's no argument that this KU team has the talent to carry it far. Like, I'm talking Big 12 championship to college football playoff far under Lance Leipold and Anthony Kotelnicki. Brian Borland, I've heard a lot of people calling for his job, including kind of myself. Last night, at least. What happened with the defense last night was mainly just player mental error. So I kind of take back those comments as far as, Brian Borland's job should be put into question. I don't entirely believe that. I think he worked with what he had and kind of just rolled with the punches, but also kind of just laid down and died some possessions. And again, if you're going to coach a team worth their salt, you can't do that. And you can't just give up. I mean, this is not the KU football of old. This is a brand new, refurbished KU team. When you get down, you get back up. And we didn't see a lot of that with KU this year. We saw just too many mistakes. So hopefully they can limit those next year. And hopefully they can grab a bowl win. Right now it's projected that they're going to play BYU in the First Responder Bowl. I might go to that. It's in Dallas, Texas, my girlfriend's hometown. Well, Denton is her hometown, but Dallas is close. So might head down for that. It's going to be New Year's Day. So we'll see where that goes. Obviously, December 4th is selections. So, yeah, got a little bit of time to wait and see where KU football will end up going bowling. So, moving on, though, to the team that beat KU last night. Kansas State. Kansas State's riding high these past couple weeks. Their basketball team's undefeated. They had a really good tournament win this past week. They beat LSU, which is a very decent SEC team. They're a team worth their salt. They're decently good. And K-State does not look like the team that I think a lot of Big 12 pundits projected them to be, which was kind of that bottom echelon, just like they were last year. I think they can compete in that middle of the pack for sure. I don't think they'll beat teams like Baylor or even KU, provided that KU pulls their head out of their butt. But I think they have a fighting chance against those teams, and I think that they beat teams like Oklahoma, teams like Oklahoma State, Iowa State, West Virginia. I think TCU. I think they beat those teams with ease. It'll be semi-close, but judging by what I look at with this K-State basketball team, they have fight, they have physicality, they have efficient scorers, and overall, they do not look, they're night and day compared to what they were last year. This team looks like they want to fight and they want to win for Jerome Tang. And I think that's the biggest difference between the past year and this year. I think most of that team knew that Bruce Weber was going to retire. And that's kind of, and with some teams, that's kind of a call for, oh, we need to play with a chip on our shoulder. We need to give one last ride for our old coach. And, well, it kind of wasn't that way with K-State basketball last year. But this year, they're all in on their new coach. And Jerome Tang's a great recruiter. He's got a lot of talented guys on his roster. They could make a run. And they could make a run to the tournament and do some damage. Probably as an 8 or 9 seed even. So we'll see where K-State lands in terms of once we get to conference play. They still do have a couple more tests. I had an article all about it. If you want to go read that real quick. But they have a couple more non-conference tests before we hit conference play in about a month. But they could be rolling in undefeated pretty easily if this K-State basketball team continues to show out. It looks like it looks like a completely different team. So. And then as for football, going to the Big 12 championship against TCU, they have a better chance at beating TCU this time around than they did last time around. Obviously, TCU injured Adrian Martinez. He got injured that game against TCU. And Will Howard has shown that he can be a good quarterback. And he's gotten time to prepare. He's gotten time to... Because, he hung with TCU even when Martinez got hurt. And I think they will be playing with a chip on their shoulder to kind of spoil TCU's playoff hopes. As much as that burns the Big 12 Conference's ears to say, or to hear, excuse me, there's a strong possibility K-State goes in there and spoils TCU's undefeated season. And to win the Big 12 title, to win Klinneman's first Big 12 title, I think that keeps Klinneman here in K-State, and I think that earns him an extension. So K-State does not have... K-State has a reason to play. And play well in this Big 12 tournament. It's not just going to be, TCU's coronation and kind of prerequisite to the college football playoff. K-State's going to give them a fight. It's going to be a good game. And if we see the K-State that we saw last night that ran with some pretty good offensive efficiency, barring, a mistake or two, that were not capitalized upon by the Jayhawks, which is another huge thing. We could see a K-State team that, number one, brings home a Big 12 championship, but number two, could bring home a bowl that could carry that momentum going in, that could bring in a Klinneman extension, and quite possibly could also compete for a Big 12 championship and college football playoff spot next year as well. I think if they beat TCU in Texas this year, they would have easily have been in the top 4. Easily. I think they have a great program, and I think if Martinez stayed healthy, the sky's the limit for that team. So, good on K-State. Hard-fought battle last night. Y'all deserve that win. From a Jayhawk fan, you guys deserve that win. The Jayhawks did not play their best football last night. So, Onward to Mizzou, though. My favorite subject, personally, if you don't already know. Um, Mizzou's bowl eligible. They're 6-6, just like the Jayhawks. After a huge win over Arkansas, 29-27, Drinkwitz, I think, saved his job. um, yeah, he got extended, but the buyout would not have been that much, and I think becoming bowl eligible is extremely important. That being said, I think Mizzou right now is okay with mediocrity. And if I'm a Mizzou football fan, I'm not okay with mediocrity. Mizzou's had mediocrity the past since 2013. I mean, yeah, you're bowl eligible pretty much every other year, but at what cost? Even like what, to go to the Idaho Potato Bowl? uh, in my opinion, the years of 2013, yeah, are behind us. But Mizzou football can go back to those years if they recruit well, if they utilize the transfer portal, and if they have a coach that can lead that team like Gary Pinkel did those years that he was there. Do I think Drinkwitz is that guy? It remains to be seen. But obviously the acquiring of Luther Burden is huge. You're losing Dominic Lovett to the transfer portal this next year. Oh, crap. Sorry, fantasy news popping up, giving me a stomach ache. But overall, I just don't see it from Drinkwitz yet. And, maybe that's, well, I haven't watched enough Mizzou football yet or something like that. I've watched quite a bit. But it's just, I'm just not seeing it. It's kind of just the same old Mizzou right now. And that may change in the next couple of years. Obviously, Drinkwitz probably got extended for a reason. But if I'm Eli Drinkwitz, my job is still not safe. So you go out and win this bowl game, provided that it's not against Kansas. Provided that it's not against Kansas. Got a little stuffy there, sorry. But it's going to be an interesting ride for Drinkwitz if this mediocrity continues into next year. Next year, I think, is the year that you have to make a turnaround. So we'll just have to see. They're bowl eligible, which, is always a plus. You always want to be bowl eligible as a football program. That's kind of the standard for Power 5 to be bowl eligible, but obviously it doesn't happen every year. And if you were a former competitor in the SEC, a contender in the SEC, I wouldn't settle for 6-6. So on the other side of the token, though, Mizzou basketball is undefeated as well, and much like K-State, they have a lot of confidence in their new coach, and I can see why. I mean, Dennis Gates is a great coach. He's proven that he's a player's coach. He's proven that he loves Mizzou and what it stands for and all its fans. And, I hate to say it. It kind of burns my mouth a little to say this, but if he can pull off a win against KU come December 10th, we could see a revamped Mizzou basketball program. We could see a Mizzou basketball program that relives the days of being ranked in the top 5 on a consistent basis. Obviously, you're not playing in the Big 12 anymore, so, strength of schedule might be a factor. um, but we could very well see a Mizzou squad that competes with the likes of Kentucky and Tennessee. Um, but you know, it it's kind of it's kind of interesting to me how confident Mizzou fans have gotten in this basketball program. Mind you, that this is still pretty much the same team from last year, barring a recruit or two. This is still pretty much the same team from last year, but having confidence in your head coach is a huge plus. And I think Mizzou had a lot of confidence in Quanto Martin that eventually got sullied. So we'll just have to see what happens with Mizzou basketball. I think it's a little too early to tell whether or not they will be worth their salt this year, but they're looking good so far. And I again think that KU basketball game will be a true litmus test to see, is this Mizzou basketball team on their way back from the depths of hell? Basically. I mean, they were bad those few years after they left the Big 12. They were really, really bad. So we'll just have to wait and see, just like K-State. So moving on to the Chiefs, the guys that played today. Chiefs won 26-10, but it felt like a very mediocre Chiefs game. I think the Chiefs went through the motions this game. They kind of did, enough to win, but, not make a statement. The red zone offense just has to get better. I mean, good Lord. How can you be that efficient of a scoring offense and have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and yet just crash and burn in the red zone like they did today? I mean, they were 1 for 6 in the red zone today. That's inexcusable. For an NFL team, that is ugly. That's what you expect a team like the Texans to do. And yet you have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense performing like that, and it's nothing new. I mean, it's happened Chiefs are in the lower echelon of red zone offense right now, which is crazy because they have one of the best offenses in the league right now. But that red zone offense is just kind of killing them, and it can't be field goals anymore. It has to be touchdowns. And what we saw today was, yeah, the Rams have a decent defense. They have a generational defensive, 3 even generational defensive talents on their team in Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, and Aaron Donald. You still pushed them to the brink and failed to go for the throat. I mean, so it just looked ugly. But the Chiefs are 9-2. They have still they still have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They have an upper echelon defense that is bailing out the offense a lot these days, which is, not something I thought I would have to say as a Chiefs pundit, but the Chiefs defense has looked really, really good, and it's kind of made the offense lazy, in my opinion. You definitely see some major issues that need hashing out with that offense, and its consistency, its red zone efficiency, and its dropped balls. I mean, my goodness, I can't count on two hands how many drop balls I saw today. Call me nitpicky. Yeah, they're 9-2, but it's come playoff time, those mistakes are going to get capitalized upon, and they're going to look really, really bad. And come playoff time, you need to be efficient in the red zone. I mean, that's absolutely inexcusable. You need to be efficient in the red zone. You need to score touchdowns. You need to put people away. You need to put teams away. And the Chiefs have the ability to do that, but remains to be seen. So I think down the stretch, that's what needs to happen. So, but you have two MVP candidates on this team, on that offense, in Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I mean, Travis Kelce is far and away the best tight end in the game right now. It's not even close. And honestly, he's making a case for best tight end all time. A lot of people are going to say, well, Gronk is a better blocker, and Gronk did this, and Gronk did that. Numbers don't lie. And Travis Kelce has better numbers. He has the best tight end stats out of any tight end over their first 11 seasons, and he's only in season 10. So that kind of highlights just how good Travis Kelce is. And, I love Tony Gonzalez. He's a great guy, kind of, except when he, insults the Chiefs. But Falcons can keep him. He can play second fiddle to Travis Kelce for all I care. I mean, Travis Kelce is a once-in-a-generation type of receiver, and he is one of one when it comes to tight ends. And he's revolutionized the position. I think obviously, Gronk was a receiving tight end. Tony Gonzalez was a receiving tight end, and they kind of pioneered it. But Travis Kelce took it and revolutionized it. And I think he is the best tight end to ever play in football. And I'm not even saying that because I'm biased towards the Chiefs, frankly. So, I don't know. You have kind of a battle between teammates for MVP right now. Obviously, I think Patrick Mahomes has the media attention and has the stats to back it up, as he does lead the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. But Travis Kelce's up there. I think he's in the top 5 in that conversation. And he could, in my opinion, he might win Offensive Player of the Year and Patrick Mahomes might win MVP. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. I think what it comes down to is the playoffs and what happens there in these late season games, obviously. But right now, I think Patrick Mahomes is the front runner for MVP. It's not close. What about Josh Allen? Josh Allen does things too. Josh Allen has barely scraped by these past couple weeks. And when you're barely scraping by against the Lions, I don't think that's really MVP material. And Patrick Mahomes has... Well, it's not even Patrick Mahomes' fault. Let's be honest here. It's the play calling in the red zone that is killing the Chiefs and is keeping opponents in these games. And, some of it may be Patrick Mahomes' decision-making. There were a couple throws that he made today in the red zone that just were completely unwarranted. But I think they were in garbage time, first and foremost. I think we had the game won by the end of the third. But it still looks bad on the resume. That being said, Josh Allen has way worse stats. He can't close out games. And honestly, if I'm the Bills, I'm worried about a first-round playoff exit this year. I'm not worried about the Super Bowl. I'm worried about getting past the first round of playoffs. Because you have these teams that are keeping with you and that are even beating you. That should not be beating you if you're this dominant of a force that the media says you are. So, yeah, you beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but I don't see Josh Allen as an MVP, and I don't see the Bills as, maybe they'll get to the AFC Championship, but I do not see them as Super Bowl contenders anymore. Not after how they performed against the Lions. Yeah, I know they won, but frankly speaking, they shouldn't have. But I digress. Let's talk about USA Soccer. USA Soccer, they tied with England, which is better than what a lot of people expected, but now it's down to Iran on Tuesday. And they have a must-win game against Iran if they're to make it to the round of 16. They've had the chances to score. If you watch the England game, they were right with England the entire time. They had more chances than England. They had more prime chances than England. They just need to capitalize. And what we're seeing is a team that is getting this close, but not capitalizing. I think Iran is the best team to capitalize against. I think they're a very inconsistent team. I think they are a team that doesn't really have a whole lot to play for given the political climate there right now. Yeah, Iran's U.S.'s sworn enemy and blah, 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 blah. But I think what you're seeing in Iran, and I'm not trying to get political here, is a potential revolution coming. And with political strife comes teams that either put up or lay down. And we could see a team that puts up, and that puts up a heck of a fight. They did beat Wales 2-0, and we tied Wales. But given what happened after the Wales game, and given the fact that the U.S. is also playing with a chip on their shoulder, I think this team deserves to make it to the round of 16, and I think they know they deserve to make it to the round of 16. Pucelik and Weah and what's his name? Oh, I cannot remember. Well, actually, I have the magazine right here. Weston McKenzie. But it really just depends on if the U.S. can put the ball in net come Tuesday. I think the U.S. is the better team. I think they will show that they are the better team. And if they can show that the goalkeeping can still be a brick wall like it was against England, and the defense can be a brick wall like it was against England, the U.S. should have plenty of chances to score, and they should capitalize them and move to the round of 16 with cleanliness and smoothness. That being said, we might see an Iran team an Iran team that plays with a chip on their shoulder. And political strife aside, they still don't like the U.S. So that might play a factor. Other factors, though, that may not play as much of a role, but Kansas City had the highest viewership for the World Cup this past game, in these past couple games actually. They're number one in Nielsen rating or something like that, as well as number one in total viewership in terms of population. And I think that shows that I think that's a statement made by KC saying we are the soccer capital of the United States and we deserve to have the World Cup come here in 2026. Yeah, there were a lot of detractors when it first happened, but I think that solidified KC loves their soccer. And man, if we make it to the round of 16, you best believe I'm going to Power and Light because that would be the first ever time that I would see a game at Power and Light, and it looks spectacular. It looks like a microcosm of Arrowhead. um, with how crazy they get about soccer down there. And I would love to see it in person. So I hope the U.S. can make it to the round of 16. Unfortunately, I work on Tuesday, so I can't really go down to PNL. But if they make it to the round of 16, I do have vacation time. So I might use it just to go down to PNL and just experience that. I mean, that would be super, super cool. So let's roll into the final part of our show, which is viewer comments, polls, and fantasy football. So general community stuff. Let's go ahead and have a look here. Let's start with fantasy. Your boy's 2-9 in his own league, by the way. But we're winning right now. We might go 3-9 right now. And at the moment, I am currently beating Kansas City Plowboys 106-66 to 88-01. Justin Fields didn't play today, Mike. Gotta make your subs. It's all important. So, but let's look around the league here. It's still the Merrigan brothers taking commanding leads, really. Clayton Merrigan having a 3-game lead in the West, and Tyler Merrigan having a 4-game lead in the East. I think it's going to be those two for the league title, barring any playoff collapses. But right now, what we've got in terms of playoffs, I believe I set it up to be a 16 playoff, but let me make sure of that. Give me a second here. Okay, so no. Teams of 4. So it looks like our playoff picture right now heading into the last couple weeks of the season. We've got Tyler Merrigan, 1 seed in the East, Missy D. Donder in the Crowhawks, 2 seed in the East, and then Average Joe's, and provided that the Steinleys win, which let me look. Ooh, the Steinleys are losing, so that West 2 seed make it a little interesting. Brandon, you might have a shot at getting that 2 seed and getting into the playoffs. As long as you can continue. Well, shoot, you've already won, so you're right up there. The West is going to be interesting these next couple weeks. We'll see who makes it into those semifinals and who eventually is crowned champion. But right now, it's looking real good for the Merrigan brothers. You guys might get that $40. So good on you. In terms of polls, I did run a couple this past week, so let's go ahead and look at those. Oh, nice. Congratulations to Connor Burke on getting engaged, by the way. Connor Burke is a Blues player and ambassador, so congratulations to him on getting engaged. Proud of you. But, I said but, we're going to look at the polls. Here we go. So, we've got, what are you most thankful for this year? We had a couple answers to this. Let me go back. Hold on. Sorry. Where are we? There we go. We had a couple answers this year. This this question session. We had quite a few people say Kansas City Blues rugby, including myself. But it's a good thing to be thankful for. Rugby's a great sport. So solid reactions there. And then, of course, my girlfriend said, family, friends, work, my wonderful boyfriend who writes for the Burn KC, i.e. myself. Thank you very much. And KU and the KC Current, I appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you. But moving on, because really all that was Sarah's comment and then 3 or 4, Blues rugby. So, and then we've got, has Patrick Mahomes cemented his MVP? We've got a resounding 100-0 victory for that. It looks like a lot of people said that he has cemented his MVP. So, and I agree. I think, yeah, he didn't have the greatest game in the whole world today, but still a solid game. And I think he's cemented passing leader thus far. So, the next one, will K-State basketball make the tournament? This was another kind of resounding unanimous answer, and that's no. I did not personally vote in this one though, and I think they make it personally. I think they'll be a middle of the pack Big 12 team that'll give a lot of teams a lot of problems, and I think they make the tournament as an 8 or 9 seed this year. Do I think they're all the way back? No, I don't. I think Jerome Tang could take this team to Big 12 title contention. But we'll just have to see where he takes him, because there's going to be a couple litmus tests coming up, including getting into conference play that will define what this team is. As I said in the K-State segment of the ScorchCast. So we'll just have to see where that goes. So that's all I had personally, in terms of your comments and polls and everything like that. 3 more days until this thing is probably gone, much to the chagrin of quite a few people except for my mother. And kind of myself too. It's kind of itchy. Sorry. But Movember is still going strong. So if you can, like I said, please donate. Check out the link in the link tree. I would love to get us to it at least $150 to $200 with this last little push. Who knows? If we end up somehow, some way achieving that $500 goal, maybe I'll grow this out into a Fu Manchu. Who knows? That's kind of where it's going right now, though. So, just saying, I'd make a great biker. I get it from my dad. So, but that's our show for today. Thank you all for joining, for reacting, for sharing, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. I appreciate you and your viewership and your support as always. Same time next week. I will be getting back from my buddy Gavin's wedding on Sunday, so time may be a little bit subject to change. I doubt it. I should be back in time and should have everything sorted. It's in town, so it's not like it's going to be super duper inconvenient for me to do the show. But again, that's our show. I'm Alex Blackburn, and this is the Burn KC signing off. Have a great night. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I will see you in the next show. Thank you very much.